You Booked It, episode 125. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining me today on You Booked It, the #1 podcast where you learn how to create a successful entertainment career. Every episode is a masterclass on how to move your career forward. And if you want even more, head over to youbookeditpodcast.com and join the email community where we dig deep into what you can be doing right now to help book that next gig. And now, let's do this. All right, let's get started. I am excited to introduce my guest today, Lindsay Heather Pearce. Are you ready for this, Lindsay?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
What? Yes, I am.
Lindsay is Broadway's new Elphaba in Wicked. Before she was the Green Girl, she performed all over the Los Angeles area with For the Record Live, at the Rockwell Table and Stage, and the historic Troubadour. You may also know her from The Glee Project, Glee on Fox, the Los Angeles revival of Bear, a pop opera, American Idiot Los Angeles, Freeform's Recovery Road, Grey's Anatomy on ABC, and more. Lindsay, that is a quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, fill in the gaps, and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, hi. I am Lindsay. I'm 29. I'm auditioning for the role of podcaster. I am from Northern California. I was born in a small town in the Central Valley called Modesto. And then I lived a little time in Portland, Oregon, and then came back to California because I just can't stay away. And I grew up loving theater, was born into a family of athletes, adopted into a family of athletes, actually. And my parents were given the idea, someone went up to them and said, "Hey, your kid can sing." And they were like, "What?" And bless them, they were always so open. They knew that I was adopted and I was not going to be a carbon copy of them and their interests. So they were really good about putting me where I needed to be, small children's productions, like children's theater, community theater. And then I did the junior college in Modesto. I went there and did as much theater as I could from like 16 to 19. And then Glee Project came into my life and took me away to Los Angeles and crushed under its heel the idea that I was going to go to a 4-year university, get my BFA in musical theater. I was going to do a showcase. Maybe I would or wouldn't get an agent. And then I'd be living in New York and I'd be auditioning for Broadway from like the ages of 21 and on.
Yeah.
And I didn't do any of that. I didn't do a single bit of that. I went to LA and I got into the scene there and did a lot of incredible theater in Los Angeles. Theater is a growing and wonderful, not right now, but it's a growing and wonderful industry in LA, and the people there that participate are really passionate about it. So it's exciting to be a part of theater there because there's a lot to prove and there's a lot of passion and a lot of talent. And then I did the actor thing. I feel like we always do the actor thing where you get the day job and you do the auditions and you cry in your car and you change in your car and there's so many resumes and headshots in your car. Yes. And then as you reach for a resume, you grab like an old French fry. Like I did the whole thing. I did all of it. And then I had really incredible opportunities to work on Freeform and ABC, NBC Universal, just incredible jobs on screen and off screen. And then I went and did ship jobs. I went and did Norwegian Cruise Lines, and then I did Seabourn, which was my last job before I got Wicked. And I went around the world. I saw the whole world, truly. I saw every single continent except Antarctica and South America. And it was absolutely amazing. And sang everything under the sun, from Dolly Parton to Shirley Bassey, and as you do on a cruise ship, cruise ship job, and it was wonderful. I worked with Sir Tim Rice, who wrote the lyrics for The Lion King and Evita, the greats, Music by Superstar. Worked directly with him, and that was like a highlight. That was really fantastic. And then came home, went back to the Rockwell Table and Stage, probably with people that we both know, and was doing quasi burlesque singing stuff. And then I got an email in my inbox from my new agent that I signed with a month prior with the audition for Wicked. And then here we are.
Oh, that is such a great journey.
Yeah.
You've been all over the place and done
Yeah.
so many different things. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. It's been a ride, to say the least. And
Yeah,
and sometimes I'm like, which ride are we on now? Is it the same one? Have we gotten off? Are we getting onto a different one?
you're
It's
right.
grateful for it though.
Beautiful. Let's move on to our first section here. And Lindsay, look, I am a sucker for a good quote. What is your favorite quote you'd like to share with everyone?
It is a Teddy Roosevelt quote, and it is comparison is the thief of joy. And I believe that he got that from Mark Twain, who said comparison is the death of joy. I would say those. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're correct in that. Oh, that is so good. Can you expand on that a little bit on how that has played and worked its way into your career?
I wish it worked its way more into my career, to be completely honest with
Yeah.
you. I think we live right now in an age of social media, which has incredible pros and incredible cons. We see it on the daily, especially right now, and at least in America in quarantine. There's a lot going on, and it's difficult. It's difficult when the new norm, at least for me, who I'm an older millennial, who I still when I was a child would have to come home before the lights were on, kind of a thing, and ride your bikes. And if you're not bleeding out of your cut, then you're fine. Is
Yeah.
your bone broken? You're fine. So now to live in this kind of new norm where a lot of us, myself included, I am not a saint in this, but a lot of us will roll over and immediately check our phones. It's like this new habit. And it's hard. It's hard not to compare yourself to the highlight reel of everyone else's success, of their work, what they are and are not doing, their food habits, their workouts, their bodies, whatever it is. And that's men or women. So I wish that I would apply it more. But I do think as a performer, comparing yourself to anybody else, it's a waste of time. And I say that because I need to hear it. It's a waste of time because you aren't anybody else. You're yourself. And
Yeah.
that's what you get cast for. That's what makes you unique in this world. You can remind somebody of somebody else or say, you remind me of so and so from this movie. Absolutely. But you are not that person. I'm not any person that's come before me, and no one that comes after me is going to be me. And that's the beauty of the human race. I don't know where I'm
Yeah.
going with that, but it's true. We all have our own fingerprints and our own genetic makeup and our own special spirituality, that we're all part of the cosmos and all of that mumbo jumbo that I deeply believe in. Yeah, I wish I compared. My short answer is I wish I compared myself less, but I'm always a student and I'm always trying to be better about it.
Yeah, of course. It's impossible to be perfect.
Oh my
I
God,
had a
no.
guest on the other day, and she had a great little one-liner. And she said, "Compare leads to despair." I was like, "Oh,
Oh, yeah,
boom, there it is."
done.
And it's so
Yeah.
true, isn't it? We have to try to stay away from going down that Insta rabbit hole.
Yes. It's hard too. How many times have you been on YouTube and you just keep going? And into strange places where you're like, why am I watching dogs eat peanut butter in slow motion? What am I doing here? And then you can go down like performance holes where you look a performance up that you love, and then another performance of something that maybe you did, and you're like, oh God, that's on the internet. And then another performance of somebody else doing it better than you, and you're like, oh God, oh no.
Yeah.
When it's truly, we're all just improving, or we're all just making mistakes. We're all cracking on the high note. We're all tripping. We're all sickling our feet. It's fine. We're human beings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love that. We're all cracking on the high note. What a good metaphor
We are
for
all
life.
cracking on the high note. Oh my God, it's true.
All right, let's get into this next section here. And Lindsay, of course, you're an entertainer. I'm an entertainer. And I think that you'd agree that this industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, personally emotional industries in existence. And you know as well as I that in order to create and have a successful career in this industry like you're having now takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yeah, there's an outrageous amount of fun and excitement being an entertainer, doing what we do, there are also our fair share of obstacles, challenges, and failures we are going to experience and we're going to have to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you come out the other side better because of it?
These kind of go hand in hand. They're like sister wives, which is a weird thing to say, but they are. and it's negative self-talk and self-sabotage. So for me, I will always talk about comparison and being your own worst enemy. It's so easy, especially when, think about the psychology of repetition, where, oh my God, I sound so smart. But think about the psychology of repetition, where I was like, did that just come out of my mouth? Where someone repeats something so many times that you start to believe it as a truth. And that goes for anything. If someone was to tell me over and over, you can't sing, you can't sing, you can't sing, you can't sing, or you're not talented, you're not talented, you're not talented, you're not kind, you're not kind, you're not, I'm gonna start believing it, of course, because the brain is an incredible thing that doesn't really care about your feelings. It's just trying to keep you alive, trying to keep your heart pumping. So this malleable thing that we've got inside of our skulls, you have to brain train and remind yourself that you are worthy and not listen to. I've personally never experienced a casting director being rude to me. I've experienced hardships in a performer-agent relationship, a performer-manager relationship. I've experienced small comments that get back to me, or the comments online. They're all over the place because everybody's a keyboard warrior these days. And you're too big, you're too small, you don't have nice enough teeth, you're not a nice person, you suck, you this, that, and anything that you can imagine gets said online. And if you think about all of that sponging that we can do through our eyes, through scrolling or whatever, and if you have one negative self-talk within your own being, like one negative comment or a self-sabotaging feeling, you're gonna start manifesting that reality. You know what I mean? You're gonna start becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I, for one, can say in my career, I have experienced that, where I'm sober in my life, and I've had moments where I've had a big show or a big audition, and I drank too much, or I told myself that I was going to fail, so I failed. Or I said, I'm not going to be able to sing that well, or they're not going to take me seriously in this scene, or I'm not pretty enough to be in this role, or whatever it is. And all of that seems superficial, but that superficial talk permeates the bones of who you are. So it really can sink in and like infest your being. And so I think that's been a challenge through my life, to be kind to myself, for God's sake, because if nobody else is going to be nice to me, at least I should be, right? And believe the people that are close to you when they say that you are worthy of love and you are worthy of good things, and you are never not a student, like I said before, and you have to take the blows with the victories. So I think I answered the question.
Yeah, I'd say so. That was incredible. Thank you for that. And you're so right. What you put in your brain, whether that's through your ears, your eyes, or what you say, that really truly does imprint on who you become.
Yeah, it really does.
So be very cautious of that and be very purposeful as much as possible with what you do consume and what you do say.
It's very true. What is it? Is it true? Is it kind? Is it honest? There's something, maybe it was a meme or some inspirational quote. I just remember I probably scrolled past it on Pinterest or something, to be honest. And it was like, is it true? Is it kind? Is it honest? All of these things. If it's not, then let it go, or don't say it, or don't let it into your life, anything like that. And I think that's very true.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
And let's move on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That one moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living. Or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing as an entertainer. Tell us about that.
I feel like a lot of us had moments where we were sitting in the audience of something, or watching a movie or something like that. And I know that I certainly experienced that as well. I remember being exposed to the grandeur of professional theater through The Lion King was touring. This is like the beginning of The Answer, where I went to The Lion King. I think I was 12, and my little community children's theater group had like pooled money together. We all got like probably like some student group discount or something to go
Yeah.
see the Lion King tour in San Francisco, and we were sitting in the mezzanine, and I remember being up on the railing so I could see over into the orchestra of the house. And the show started, and I don't know if you've seen The Lion King live, but oh my God, it's a spectacle. It's absolutely amazing. And I look down, and there's a spoiler alert, but there's an elephant being like a life-sized elephant
Yeah.
being, what's the word? Being manipulated by these dancer, singer, actor, performers. And I was like, what? That is incredible. And then the stampede and the sets and everybody swinging in and out on ropes and the lighting and the singing and the language and the movement. And I cried the entire time. I was 12 and I was so overcome with the spectacle of it all. And I just remember being like, that was like realizing that adults, and there's kids in that show. There are children playing Nala and Simba. And I was
Yeah.
like, little kids can do this at this level. Oh my God. I just remember being absolutely blown away. And then when I was 14, I saw at a theater called Sierra Repertory Theater, actually here in Sonora, where my parents live up in the Sierra Nevadas, there's a professional regional production company in this tiny little theater. And I'm talking tiny, like 80 seats.
Wow.
And the level of production value that this company can produce is really amazing. And they did Beauty and the Beast. And I think I was 14. And I remember watching that show, and I loved Beauty and the Beast. I loved Terrence Mann, who was the original Beast in Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. So I was like, I was ready. I was there. I was in it. I was ready to cry. I was ready to be inspired. I was 14. I was so above myself. And I remember watching, I don't remember her name, but the woman that played Belle, I watched her like a hawk that entire show. She was poised. She was strong. She was effortless. She was the star, and yet also like the every man in the show. She was the every woman, and she was part of the ensemble while still being her own piece of the show. And I remember having a moment going, I'm going to play that role. I have to play that role. I want to know what that feels like, was my big thought. Is I want to know what that, in my fingers and my toes, in my voice, in my body, I want to know what that feels like to go on that journey personally. And then when I was 17, I did it in a regional professional production in the Bay Area.
Cool.
And then I had a moment when I was 17, I was about to turn 18, April of 2009, I went and I saw Wicked in San Francisco, and the end of the first act happened.
Yeah.
Defying Gravity happened, and the lights came up, and my mom was sitting next to me, and I was, when I say I was unwell, like snot was going from my nose into my mouth. I was unwell, and I was not okay. I was completely moved. I was moved beyond words, and it was like deep from within my soul weeping, which is embarrassing to think about, a 17-year-old just out of her mind. And my mom turned and said, "Are you okay? Why are you so upset?" And I said, "I'm not. I'm going to do that someday. I have to do that someday." And here we are.
Oh, so
Yeah.
good. And
Yeah.
well, with that, let's piggyback on that question and talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, the auditions and callbacks, if they happen to be a part of it. What was going on in your life, and what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
Right now, it has to be Wicked. I've had really amazing booked it moments where I've been like, no way. People get these phone calls. This is crazy. But truly never in my life have I received a phone call that was so affirming, that was so out of left field. I was so shocked. I did not expect it. And that's because I went in and auditioned in November of last year, which seems like a lifetime ago. And I had gotten the email, Wicked, Elphaba, 3 p.m. Monday, November 17th. I will never forget that date. And I was like, holy crap. I hope I don't mess up, because that was my first Broadway audition ever. And I was like, if I screw this up, I will never be allowed back into this room.
Yeah.
I've got to be able to, at least, my goal was to have them keep my resume and headshot and not put it in the no keep pile.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be called back for, I don't know, Dear Evan Hansen, anything else. Call me back for mouse number 6 in the pit of Lion King, anything.
Right.
I just wanted to be in the room. And I got there and I auditioned and I went to walk out and they were like, can you come back on Wednesday? And I said, yes. And I went back in. This is a very short version of this story because it's long. And I went back on Wednesday with more people in the room, more creatives, again, Mitch K being one of them. And I auditioned again. And then I left and a week or so went by and it was Thanksgiving weekend and I was here in Sonora in the mountains at my parents' house. And I got an email on the weekend from my agent, which is not common. That's like not a thing. It's very important if you get an email on the weekend from your agent. And she was like, hey, something happened to the tape. Like something about the USB, the card or something was messed up. And so they didn't have the recording. And I have to tell you, those first 2 auditions were like those magical audition moments where you walked out. I was like floating. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, I felt like I was Elphaba. It was amazing. I remember walking out being like, if I am capable of that, of producing that in 7 minutes of an audition, I have no excuse. I can do anything. And I just felt so accomplished and I felt so proud of myself. I worked so hard on these auditions. And there was a part of it that just took the wind out of my sails a little bit to be like, those are lost forever. No. And of course, they were like, can we please see you on this day? And then of course, that was the week that I was booked up literally from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. every single day. So it was like, can we see you at 9 a.m. on a Monday? Which is a nightmare when you're singing Elphaba and it's a packet. So you're singing several songs and you're doing several scenes. And I went in at 9 a.m. at the Chelsea casting office in Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles, and I sang everything about 6 times. I sang everything like twice through. And every single song, I'd open my mouth to sing about 6 times, and then did the scenes. And then I think I sang through everything else again. To be honest, I think I blacked out. But I do remember walking out of that office, and it wasn't the same people. Everybody had gone back to New York, so these were the Los Angeles casting. This Los Angeles casting office. And I walked out feeling like, and I was like trying really hard not to be hard on myself in that moment. And I said, it's 9:30. You did your best. Not a lot of people can say that they can even squeak out something at 9:30. And that's not to be like, I'm so amazing at 9:30 in the morning. It really did not feel like it went very well. But I said, you know what? You didn't crack. You did it. You didn't once bow out and you didn't quit. You just kept doing it and you trusted yourself and you did it and you did it and you did it. And then I thanked the day for its time and I said, and that's the end of Wicked. Because I thought for sure, and maybe that is a bit of that self-sabotage that I was talking about before, but I truly felt after what I'd produced that morning that there was no way that it would go further. And then I didn't hear anything. And from what I was told, the next step would be to fly to New York to audition again for those creatives, again, with a ton of other New York people. So I didn't hear anything, and I was like, well, it's not going to go anywhere. Wicked will come again next year, and I'll audition, or maybe I'll go to New York and audition for it. And I got a call on the 2nd of January from my agent, Natalie, if you're listening. Thanks for that call. And she asked in a way only Natalie can, which was, question, I'm about to get on a plane. Do you have a second? And I said, yeah. And she said, how do you feel about moving to New York to play Elphaba in Wicked on Broadway? Oh my God, my heart just went to my butt just saying that out loud again. And I was like, what? And she repeated herself and I didn't say anything. And she said, are you there? And my first words were, are you sure? She said, yes. And I didn't say anything. And she was like, Linz? And I said, are they sure? And she said, yes. And then I said, am I ready to do this? Can I do this? And Natalie said, I don't know, can you? And it took a second. And then I said, yes, I can. And that was it. Because I was really scared in that moment of, this is a big yes. That's a big yes to say yes to having no Broadway experience, no tour experience, just a resume, a lot of hope, and some really across the board experiences in the industry. And I said yes, and then that was really it. And that it doesn't happen that way. So I'm very grateful that they saw something in me, something that was ready to do this. Because I think me a couple years ago would have been like, too scared.
Yeah.
And I don't even think I would have been in the room a couple years ago. I don't think I was in a place to be there. And it just felt synchronistic in some way. Yeah.
Oh, that is such a great story and so unique
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, it was insane. Talking about it now, I'm not going to lie to you. There's like a sheen of sweat on my hairline, and like my hot spot, but like the inner part of my elbow is like pounding.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it. I
It was a
believe it.
wild ride for sure. Yeah.
Wow. And how's it been? Obviously pre-COVID, but how was it getting into that show and getting rehearsed and everything? The whole experience.
It was a whirlwind. Thank God for Dan Michike. What an angel. He was there for all of it. And it happened quickly. I got the call on the 2nd of January and I said, when am I going? She said, you start work on the 28th. And I was like, great, cool, Jesus, Louise. And I was like, okay. So I had to pack my life up and move across the country. And that was wild. I was on a red eye on the 26th of January. I landed on the morning of the 27th and I started work at 10 a.m. on the 28th. Yeah, there's a photo in my phone. I'll have to email it to you because it's really great. But there's a photo in my phone of me at 10:45 in the morning in the down the street from the Wicked Theater. They have like their own fitting offices with all the costumes and stuff in there. And I was in the Act 2 Elphaba dress, barely awake, just still on California time, just Looney Tunes out of my head and
Yeah.
smiling from ear to ear, and could not believe that I was wearing, at the time I was wearing Jessica Vosk's dress because they were trying to get a feel for what the dress would look like on me. And it was that fast. It really was. And then 4 weeks after I landed in New York, I debuted on Broadway on the 25th of February.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
crazy.
amazing.
And then
So,
just as quickly on the 13th of March, they were like, we're dark.
yeah,
I was like,
oh,
okay,
yeah,
cool.
that
It was
happened.
wild. Yeah, it
Uh,
was so truly, it's been a whirlwind. And I don't know if I welcome that energy into my life. I must, because my friends say that I have a lot of chaotic energy. So I must really embrace the chaos, or I like draw it in. Certainly, like, I'm not talking about COVID, but must everything be at top speed with me? Maybe one day I'll get old enough to be like, that's too fast.
yeah.
That's too much. So yeah,
Oh, so
yeah,
good. Thank you for sharing that story.
it's a wild one for sure.
Yeah. And let's take a moment to talk about the present. What projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And it's a weird time. We're amidst this global pandemic. How do you see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
Right now, I have this wonderful privilege of coaching a lot of people right now, whether it's giving them tips on how to better work through their songs, how to build their books, monologue coaching, singing coaching. I'm not a vocal coach, but I pass along as much as I can of what I know. And that's been really amazing. It's been really rewarding to watch these young people flourish, not just under me, but through practice. That's been really neat. And I got to tell you, I feel like I've learned more in the last couple months teaching some of these individuals than I ever have in my life. Just watching them improve and watching the shifts of work happen in their performance. It's pretty wild and it's really special. And I wouldn't have had that time to be able to experience that with these young people. If I was still in Wicked, I would be going to sleep, waking up, getting green, going to sleep, waking up, getting green.
Yeah,
Like it would
yeah.
be, I'd have a very different lifestyle right now. That's been really wonderful. I'm working on a couple projects with some of the Wicked touring cast and the Wicked Broadway cast, and singing as much as I can, lending myself to little projects here and there, because singing really, I find myself smiling a lot more. I got to sing this morning and I've just been like skipping around the house because I got to sing. And so and at the same time, I'm trying to maintain at least a tiny semblance of what I had when I was in New York, because when we do go back, I'm going to need that stamina, baby. I'm going to
That's
need that
right.
stamina back. So it's been a lot of working on the body, being gentle with the voice, because it's a little different right now. And just living one day at a time, really, which is the mantra that I live by, is stay in your gratitude, go one day at a time. Take it as
Yeah.
it comes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to being back in a room full of creative people with that energy flowing and everybody joking around. It's probably going to be a lot different. It might be a little difficult to play, or of course the way it might look different, this industry moving forward is going to be, everything's going to be so freaking clean. It's insane. I
Yeah.
feel like I don't think there's going to be stage door or anything anytime soon. You're shaking hands, you're meeting people, you're saying hello, you're in close quarters all the time. And I feel like staying healthy is part of the job because you have to be able to perform at a specific caliber a specific amount of times a week, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I feel like we're all inherently trying to stay healthy anyway, but I feel like there's just going to be so much, I don't know, maybe more hesitancy or awareness of physical space. I think that's going to change a lot, but at the same time, who freaking knows? Who
Yeah.
knows? That's the insane thing, is this is truly the unknown. But I know, what I do know is it will come back stronger than ever. And yeah, I think that there's going to be definitely a sense of relief when there's bodies safely in a room together again with that energy, that wonderful performer artist energy, regardless of what kind of art or performance you're doing. There's
Yeah.
just this energy of, how was your day? How are your kids? What are you eating? What does that smell? Like, what is going
Yeah.
on? I forgot all my lines today. There's just like a specific love and energy and, I don't know, je ne sais quoi, or whatever the saying is, of being in a room rehearsing and performing together. And yeah, I miss that. I miss giving people hugs. I miss holding people's hands. And I love my fiance, but I would love to hug and hold another body and another hand sometime soon. And I also just think that there's going to be a real sense of not taking any of this for granted when we go back, because this is an insane series of circumstances that has gone on this year. And I think that the industry, including the audience, I think that there's going to be a lot of love and a lot of gratitude and not taking anything for granted, maybe as often moving forward. I know for myself, like, I'm never going to complain about how tired I am after
Yeah.
doing Wicked ever again. And that's not to say that it's not healthy to complain or to be tired. That's valid. Toxic positivity is not a thing that's welcome in my life, but yeah, certainly more gratitude and remembrance of this does not last forever and can be taken away in a moment, which was very much shown at the beginning of this year. And
Yeah, absolutely. I think we will all not be taking anything for granted. Like you said, from the performers to the audience, everyone involved. I think that's going to really help move everything forward.
yeah.
And it is time to move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round. I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, first question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
Fear.
Second question. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
When you are in the room, just see the gig.
Ah, great. Can you expand on that just a tidge?
Yeah, my coach, my vocal coach in LA, her name is Kathy Deach, and she just so happens to be an original cast member of Wicked. And
Oh,
so she coached me for my audition, and I had a moment of total fear and panic in one of our coaching sessions. And she said, honey, just when you're there, when you're in that room, see the gig, see the apartment, see the orchestra, see the green, see the gig. And I did. And I think it's because of her that I booked that part.
oh, so
Yeah.
good. And the third question, what is something that is working for you right now? Or if you'd like to go pre-COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
Something that's working for me now, or is it working for me? I know how to make so many pies now. Like and I'm not being funny. I know how to make a crazy amount of pies now. And that was something that I'd always wanted to be able to do. And for any of you out there listening, I'm an earth sign. I am like, I love to cook. I love to use my hands. I love food. I love sharing food. And I made pies for a lot of people in the summer of this quarantine. Like actually took orders. Was like, do you want apple? Do you want blueberry? Do you want pumpkin? What do you want? And I would make them as a challenge. And so that was something really exciting. So what's working for me is just trying new things that again, fear that I was afraid that I would not be able to do. And what was working for me pre-COVID, massages. Oh my God. Wicked is really hard on the body.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about really nice massages where someone just gently scratches
yeah.
your scalp and like kind of pats you on the back. I'm this man, Aaron, out in New York at the Massage Envy on 46th. If you're listening, I love you. I miss you. He was like a sports massage therapist, and he would hurt me in the best way so that I'd be able to go and do my show again throughout the week. And yeah, that all sounds like an innuendo for something else, but it really isn't. Massages, I miss them. I miss people being able to, like, I don't know, touch me. Is that weird?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. And the fourth question, what is your best resource, whether that is a book, a movie, a YouTube video, maybe a podcast, or a piece of technology you found is helping your career right now?
I love this question. I think something that's been really helping in terms of like books, I really love Audible right now.
Yes.
I wasn't much of an audiobook person before. I love reading. Reading is a real escape for me. And right now, especially when I'm in the kitchen making freaking pies, like I was saying before, it's just nice to be told a story. And that's been a really fun thing. And I've been listening to books that are not self-help, that are kind of fantasy-based, because I'm a Lord of the Rings fan. C.S. Lewis, anything. I love fantasy and otherworldly stories. And I've been listening to The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I've just really enjoyed being able to listen to a story that has absolutely no connection to anything that is currently happening in the world. I'm probably just like an escapist, right? So I really love being able to be lost in a world, at least for a little bit. I find it to be really recharging. And there's something nice about having somebody do the reading for you, I guess.
Yeah, there's some great voice artists.
Yeah, the really great voice art. And sometimes it's the author, which is really exciting when the author reads their own work. And that's been really lovely. And then a podcast that I love is Armchair Expert with Dax
It's such a
Shepard.
good one. Yeah.
It's so good. I'm a sober person, and I just really respect. He just came out with an episode about honesty and relapse and stuff. And I just, that is not easy, and to do that in the public eye. And his interviews are always so good, and the fact checking at the end of the interviews. And you can tell there's a good egg in there, and it's in everybody involved. And it's just a really great podcast. It's really intelligent and well thought out, and it's nice, and it makes me laugh.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever read or listened to Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series?
I never, ever have. And
It's
I know
so
that I need
good.
to.
I mean, it's epic.
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 Yeah.
But
gonna
it's
write that down
brilliant.
right now. Have you ever listened to it?
I have read most of it, and then I guess I've got the last handful of them to go through, but
Yeah.
I've done a combo of reading and listening, and the readers that they've hired to do the reading, the Audible versions, they're brilliant. I believe it's a
best?
husband-wife team, actually, and they flip-flop as well throughout the entire
That's
story.
always
it's
so
really cool.
exciting. I love that. I just got done with The Starless Sea, Erin Morgenstern again, and multiple voice actors for multiple different chapters that were supposed to be parts of different books. And so a section of the book would end, and then a new chapter would begin with a different voice, and it just keeps you engaged.
Yeah.
Because it's a different story, so it wouldn't be the same voice actor for it. It was just absolutely wonderful, and I just really appreciate being taken out of the seriousness of everything for a second and getting back to, I think it's important to remember that you're allowed pleasures. You're allowed to smile. You're allowed to be happy even for a moment. And it's hard when everything is so dire and is very deep. And there's a lot going on that's important and that matters and that you need to be putting some energy into regardless of who you are. And it's always, you have to plug back in to you. And I think that however you can do that is really great. And for me, it's storytelling.
For sure. And the fifth question, if you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in this industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently, or would you keep it the same?
I love this question. I think that I would, if I was to change anything, I would make myself take dance classes earlier because I am not a dancer. I can move. If you give me a couple hours and teach me the choreography, I will go and I will learn it. I will be at home going through the steps for a while. I'm a good self-practicer. I do a lot of working overtime on that kind of stuff because I know it's not a skill that I have. I think that would be something that I would change. Everything else, though, I feel like this is such a common answer to give, but I feel like I wouldn't be who I am now and where I am now if anything else changed. I would say I wish that someone had told me, slow down, success is what you make it, and time is just a construct. Because I got my first Broadway show at 28. And I was about to turn 29, and I thought that I was too old for this. So it goes to show what the hell I know, which is a silly thing to say. I'm still in my 20s, and I was like, I'm too old. But it does feel that, again, comparison.
Yes.
Comparison, constantly. So I think slow down, take a second, take a breath. Not everything is meant for you. That's a good thing. How exhausted would you be if everything was meant for you?
Right? Okay.
You would be so overbooked, Lindsay. So if everything was meant for you, you wouldn't have a life.
That's true. And the last question, what is the golden nugget knowledge drop you've learned from your successful career in this industry you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Golden nugget drop. I feel like this is the question that has the most pressure. You know what? I do know what it is. It is drink your water, mind your business, do your work, get your sleep, be kind.
There you go. Perfect.
It's that easy sometimes.
Yes. It's the little things that make the biggest difference.
Please drink water. If you're listening, go drink now. You need it. You do.
And to wrap up this interview, Lindsay, it is time to give yourself a plug. Where can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
I am on the Instagrams at Lindsay Heather Pearce. I have a Twitter. I think it's Miss Lindsay Pearce. I'm not really on Twitter, though. I don't even think I have it on my phone. But I'm there if you feel like finding me on the Twitters. Where else am I? I'm on YouTube, Lindsay Heather Pearce. And I am starting a fun Q&A kind of series on YouTube just to keep the creative theater love flowing. The first episode, you'd call it, is going to be about Bear and everything. I get a lot of questions all the time about Bear, and I was like, why don't I just make a video and answer all those questions that people have been wanting answers to? So that's going to be a fun thing that's just for me, but other people can watch if they want to. Just talking about memories and all of that. And promote, not really. If you want to connect with me, you can. I'm pretty good about answering direct messages, and I interact a lot on Instagram because it's fun and it's light. And yeah. Oh, and I do have a TikTok, but it's mostly just the garden. It's mostly just my mom's garden and the big sunflower that is taking over the garden. So if you're interested in that, go to the TikTok, and I think that's Lindsay Heather Pearce as well.
Beautiful. And for everyone listening out there, I have put the links to everything Lindsay just said into the description of this episode. Lindsay, thank you so much for being here, jumping on, joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. This has been so great.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't miss an episode. I have a new guest 7 days a week. Every guest drops more value and insight than any other resource out there. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a rating and review. Also, be sure to head over to youbookeditpodcast.com and join our free email community where we dig deep into a continually growing resource of truly actionable things you can be doing right now to help you advance your entertainment career. All the best to you. We'll see you tomorrow.